You cannot fail at the practice of meditation. Why? Because it's a practice. And a practice means you're going to succeed and fail and succeed and fail and succeed and fail. And that's called learning, right? And if you're not willing to fail, you can't learn anything. And if you're not willing to understand that practice is perfect all the time, it's perfect. It can't be anything but perfect because it's not a performance, it's a practice. But you and I have been conditioned to experience our life as if it's a performance. You know, when you go to school as a child, the children are being prepared to perform well, aren't they? Yeah, they're being prepared to prove how good they are, how successful they are in competition with everybody else. That's the beginning of neuroticism. It's the beginning of the craziness that continues on in life, you know. So those of us who don't feel that we can compete with others already get into a state of anxiety, and already get worried about it, you know, and many times avoid doing things because you're afraid that you won't succeed. And that's a barrier that people experience. Well, if I just say focus on your breath, right? See, the language is very important. We have a very corrupt language that we use, you know. If I just say focus on your breath, then I am talking consistent with your belief about the fact that you think you're your body. Focus on your breath, your breathing. Your breathing, not your body's breathing, right? So in meditation, we want to practice the truth. We want to start to distinguish reality from belief, right? And the reality is that you're not breathing, the body's breathing. You're not beating your heart, the body's beating your heart. The body is, all the things that your body is doing all day long, it's doing itself. You're not doing any of those things. You know, we talk in a corrupt way. You know, women say, I had a baby. No, you didn't. The baby had you. You didn't have a baby. There was nothing you could do about it. You know, the body had the baby, right? And so we want to start to come into the truth and see things as they are. One of the things about meditation is it helps you to begin to pay attention from an aware place, looking at what's happening. Not thinking about what's happening, but looking at what's happening. And when you just look at what's happening without thinking about it, and when you begin to experience the fact that your awareness is a knowing awareness, your awareness is an intelligent awareness. It's not a dumb awareness. When you walked into this room, you didn't have to stop and say, okay, that's the ceiling, those are the walls, that's the floor. I got to get this all right before I sit down. No, your awareness knew it all right away, immediately knew it all away. So your awareness knows things that who you think you are doesn't know. Your awareness knows things that who you think you are doesn't know, because who you think you are only knows what it knows through thinking. When you practice awareness and you start to wake up, you realize, oh, wait a minute, it's possible for me to experience reality directly. I don't have to process it through my thought activity. You know, we learn to make thinking a sacred reality, you know, because we're taught to think, like thinking is the way we function in the world. We think, we feel, and we do. We think, we feel, and we do, right? Where's being? Where's the being in that? There's no being in that. The being's in the background being ignored while we're thinking about life, feeling about life, and taking action in life. And because those thoughts and those beliefs and those feelings are so limited, a lot of our life doesn't work. It's an unworkable, dysfunctional reality. And so when you start to practice meditation, you open yourself up to a new possibility for existence called being. Being, you know, being. And being is an empty experience. Being is an empty experience. What do I mean by that? Being is the act of awareness. Awareness is being. It's the act of being aware, right? And awareness is empty. Your awareness is empty. It is a fully receptive operation. It's open and empty. You know, a lot of the meditation masters and meditation practitioners talk about awareness and talk about the waking up process that happens when you practice meditation. and they say that upon waking up and experiencing my true nature, I experience not knowing. I experience not knowing and being open to everything that's happening. Some of the teachers talked about it as Zen mind, beginner's mind, having a beginner's mind, you know. It's not that thinking stops happening, but you stop depending on it, and you start depending on something that's much more powerful than thinking, which is being present, looking and seeing what's so. And when you start to wake up and you start to experience the possibility of being and know the difference between your personality and the awareness that is your true nature, you can start to pay attention in a way that makes a significant and profound difference in your life, right? Because you start seeing what's actually happening. Not what you believe is happening, not what you learned about what's happening, not what you think is happening, not how you feel about what's happening, but what's actually happening. You start to see things as they are. You start to see your mind as it is, and you start to realize that your mind is a conditioned program that's running a survival operation, right? And it doesn't care about your well-being. It doesn't care whether you're happy, it doesn't care whether you're satisfied or peaceful. All it cares about is whether you survive. And if you look around, you can see that that's obvious when you look at people's behavior, you know? And the thing about it that makes it so destructive and so dysfunctional is that it's not just survival about the physical body. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good idea to survive the physical body because this is your piece on the board. This is your piece on the game board of life. You got to have a piece on the board to play the game, right? So that's fine. The problem is that the survival process has gone beyond survival of the body to survival of the personality. How does the personality survive? Personality survives by looking good, being right, being comfortable, avoiding being uncomfortable, getting what it wants, avoiding what it doesn't want, right? This is the operation of the personality all day long. That's what the voice in your head is talking about all the time. You know, telling you, don't do that, do this. You know, avoid that, that's too uncomfortable. This is threatening, right? And you can see the operation when you see that all it takes is for somebody to look at you the wrong way, and the process starts to play, the survival process starts to play. Why are they looking at me like that? What do they want from me? You know, you start feeling threatened by the fact that somebody just looks at you. Not to mention all the other ways that we feel threatened in life, right? We feel threatened because people are in front of us on the highway. That's insanity. That's total insanity. So when you wake up, you start to witness your own insanity, you start to witness the insanity of humanity, and you start to realize that unless you come out of that insanity, right, you will be part of the herd going off the cliff. You'll be part of the flock flying in the wrong direction, right? And it's never going to go anywhere. You're never going to be happy. It's impossible to be happy when you're depending on thinking and your emotions, you know, and your beliefs in order to be happy. That's why the pursuit of happiness is so popular, because it's an ongoing, everlasting pursuit. You never arrive. And it makes the economy work, right? Because if you're pursuing happiness, and the way people believe that they're going to be happy is to get what they want. You know, that's what you've been conditioned to believe, right? That's why you chase money. That's why when you go to school as a child, they're preparing you to compete to get what you want. Because everybody knows if you get what you want, you'll be happy, right? The evidence is obvious and clear that that's not true, but nobody cares about that because they have a core belief that if I get what I want, I'll be happy. And if you look at your life, you can see that whenever you got what you wanted, you had this experience that you thought was happiness. It's actually gratification. That's all it is. It's gratification. It's not happiness, right? And it doesn't last, right? So you get what you want. You believe that made you happy because you experienced gratification. And then that starts to dissolve, and then you're back on the pursuit of happiness again. Then you look for the next thing, right? You look for the next thing. You thought it was a new car. It was for a little bit, and then that didn't work anymore. Maybe it's a new relationship. Maybe it's a new house. Maybe it's a new job. Maybe it's a new country. Maybe it's a new president, you know? Constantly looking to see what's the next thing, what's next, what's next, what's next. You know, we're never available to be and experience the fulfillment of existence itself. We're not available to be and experience that being is fulfilling and provides for us happiness, satisfaction, and peace. Being provides happiness, satisfaction, and peace. And when I say being, what I'm referring to is not the thinking activity, which is changing all the time, it's unstable. It's not how you feel, that's changing all the time, it's unstable, right? It's none of that. If you look at the mental state, you can see it's often talked about to be like a crazy monkey, right? Monkey mind. That your mind is all over the place. It keeps going from one thing to the next, from one thing to the next. There's no stability, no place to relax. Same thing with emotions. You feel good, then you feel bad. Then you feel good, then you feel bad. Then you're angry, then you're sad. Right? It's constantly changing, unstable reality. And then you're in a world that's unstable. Everything's constantly changing in the world. So where do you get any rest? Where do you get any peace? Where do you get any satisfaction and well-being? Not from any of that. Not from any of that. If you stop and slow down, which you're doing when you practice meditation, you will start to notice that there is a phenomena, there is an experiential reality called being that's there all the time. And it's never changing. Everything else is in flux, everything else is impermanent, everything else is changing. But the awareness that you are is exactly the same now as it was when you were 5 years old. Look at it. Look at it. You are all experiencing awareness right now. You've always been experiencing awareness. And so one of the things that happens through meditation is you begin to practice being aware of being aware. You start being aware that you're aware, and you can actually notice awareness. You can actually recognize awareness. And this is important because if you recognize awareness, you start to see what it has to offer you, right? For example, you know, one of the things that I introduced this class to is a guided meditation process called the invitation, right? And the invitation is about taking you through a process of slowly putting aside all the things that you think, all the beliefs you have, all the things that go on for you emotionally and everything, until that's all put aside and all that's left is the awareness itself. And when you get to that awareness, which you can look at it right now because you're all experiencing it right now. If you look at the awareness that you're experiencing right now, and you ask yourself some questions about it, it will introduce you to the possibility of being. It will introduce you to the possibility that promises happiness, satisfaction, and well-being. So you're all experiencing awareness right now, and if you look at that awareness as the awareness looking at itself, if you look at the awareness and ask yourself, is this awareness a male or a female? Look and see. Don't think about it, just look at the awareness and answer the question. Is it a male or a female? What do you get?
Neither.
Yeah, it's not a male or a female. Does it have a form?
No.
No. Is it going anywhere?
No.
Does it want anything? Does it need anything? How old is it? No age. This is, and how far away from you is it? How far away from you is the awareness?
There all the time.
Is there any distance between you and the awareness? No. Well, that must mean that you are the awareness. Don't you think it's about time that you start being what you are? Since it's your birthright, you were born this way. You were born with the opportunity to wake up and experience the truth of yourself, the natural state called awareness. And when you begin to understand that and you begin to practice experiencing that, you begin to make yourself available for happiness, satisfaction, and peace of mind. It's there all the time. All you have to do is start practicing moving your attention away from the thinking activity, paying attention to the body breathing. You see, and when you're paying attention to the body breathing, if you're doing this over and over again, it starts to occur to you that, wait a minute, I must be the awareness of the body breathing. I must be the awareness of the body breathing. That must be my true identity. I can actually experience that, but I can't experience being a personality. Do you understand that you've been living your life as a phantom? You've been living your life as something that only exists in thinking. That's why if somebody gets a head injury and they lose their memory, they don't know who they are. The only way you know who you are is you remember it. How real can that be? How real can that be? Especially when you compare it to the awareness, right, which is there all the time. And even if you get a head injury and you don't know who you are, you're still aware. You're still aware. The awareness is a constant. It's always there, it's always available, and it is what you actually are. And through meditation, you can come out of the dark and into the light. From meditation, you can wake up from the dream you've been in called being a personality and believing you're a physical body. You can come out of the dream. And when you come out of the dream, the possibility for well-being is there for you all the time, no matter what the circumstances are. Most human beings are living what's called an at-effect life, right? An at-effect life. I'm at the effect of circumstances. I'm at the effect of what's happening. I'm at the effect of my own thoughts. I'm at the effect of my body. I'm at the effect of my emotions. It's an at-effect life, right? When you wake up and you start to experience your true nature, that shifts to a life in which instead of being at effect, you're at cause. You're at cause because the awareness is the source of the whole thing. The awareness is the source of the whole thing. It's a non-conceptual reality. You can't think what you are. You can't think, we use the term awareness or consciousness, right? But that's still not what it is, right? That's just a name that we're giving to something that's nameless. It's a name that we're giving to something that's non-conceptual. And although it's non-conceptual and it can never be known with names, it is literally what you actually are. You are formless, you are nameless, you are ageless. And you never change. It is your true nature, you never change. And if you practice meditation consistently and make the transition from the belief that you're a personality and start to witness that the personality is not actually what you are, and because of that you start to make a transition to experiencing your true nature, you will start to notice spontaneous happiness without a reason. You didn't get what you wanted and you're still happy. You're just happy. Why are you happy? You're happy because you've made contact with the truth. What's the truth? The source of your well-being, happiness, peace, and satisfaction is the fact that you exist, something that you ignored, right? What's the value of the fact that human beings exist? I mean, if you look at the behavior of humanity, what's the value of existence for human beings?
Awareness can experience itself. So awareness can experience itself.
Well, yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm saying how much value do people place on the fact that they exist? I didn't ask to be born, right? I'm here, now what? Right? That's how people behave, right? When you wake up, you realize the most precious thing you have is your life. The most precious thing you have is the fact that you exist. One of the things, a statement that comes from one of the main teachings in the East is Satchitananda. Bob's my assistant. Satchitananda, that's a famous saying from the East, and what it means is existence, consciousness, bliss. That if you begin to experience your true nature, which is consciousness, and you experience the fact that you exist, you will experience well-being, bliss, peace of mind, satisfaction. Because that's the experience of existence. And the thing about this that's interesting is all of us will have this realization before you die. Because when you're on your deathbed, when you're taking your last breaths, you'll realize what you're about to lose you never appreciated. You know, what you're about to lose wasn't good enough, right? It wasn't good enough. It's not that I'm here, it's what do I have, right? It's not that I'm here, it's do I get what I want. It's not that I'm here, but do I have security? Do I have protection? Am I admired? Do I have a good reputation? Do people like me, right? Am I making a good appearance here, right? All of this covers over the fact that your existence is the most precious thing you have. But before you take your last breath, that will become evident to you. Before you leave your life, you will not be able to avoid the sacredness and the profoundness and the value of your existence itself. Why? Because you're about to lose it. Why wait for that? Why wait for that? And why wait for death? You know, the book that I wrote while I was teaching this class is called what's the name of the book? Dying to Live, right? And the reason I named it Dying to Live is because the only real death that's ever going to occur is the death of the body and the death of the personality. That which you are is unborn. Awareness is unborn. It's formless and timeless. It's unborn and it doesn't die. Right? So it involves wisdom. It involves a transcendental wisdom. transcending the experience of just being a body, transcending the experience of just being a personality, and realizing your true nature, which is unborn. It's a transcendental experience. And so because that's the case, why wait for death? If the only thing that's going to die is the body and the personality, right? You need the body if you want to continue to be in the game, right? But you don't need the personality to be in the game. You can let that die. It's not real anyway. All you have to do to die as a personality is to realize that you were never alive anyway. The personality was never alive. When you realize the personality was never real and never alive, that's the death of the personality, and thank God. Because once it's clear to you that that's not real and that's not what you are, the possibility of living your life and experiencing what's available to you becomes real. So you see, if you listen, if you're hearing what I'm saying here, I'm trying to get it across to you that meditation is not just stress reduction. It's not some religion, right? It's scientifically based. Your brain changes in profound ways when you practice meditation. And those profound ways that it changes means new neural patterns will come into existence and old neural patterns will go out of existence. How does that happen? By not paying attention to stupid, crazy neural patterns. They die a death. If you don't feed your dog, it'll die, right? If you don't feed negative thoughts, they'll die. If you don't give them your attention, they'll die. They live off of your attention. Your attention is energy. When thoughts occur in your mind and you pay attention to them, you're feeding those thoughts energy, which strengthens the neural patterns. If you recognize that certain thoughts are not realistic and useful and they're negative and they're detrimental and you move your attention away from that, you keep doing that, those thoughts will die because they don't have the energy to continue to exist. And you can replace them with reality. You can replace them with the truth. You can replace them. Your brain, we now know that the brain changes all the time. It's a learning organism. You know, it's called neuroplasticity, right? What's it learning from? It's learning from the way you're behaving. It's learning from the way you think. It's learning from the patterns of your emotions and your behavior and your thoughts. And if that's crazy, you have a crazy brain. You start practicing meditation over time and those neural patterns start to change in a positive direction, your brain starts to become sane. You go sane. You go sane. The truth is you're doing it as the personality. You don't know any other way to do it. You can't be any other way. Your conditioning is going to determine you, right? But even by coming into this as a personality, right, you can teach the personality not to consider itself to be real. And that's what happens when you start pulling your attention away from the thinking activity, because the personality is literally being generated by your thoughts. Remember, I said the personality only exists because you remember it. That memory process occurs in thinking. Right? So your personality is only being generated by your thoughts. If you start paying attention to the thoughts, right, and realize that they're generating a personality, in contrast to awareness, which doesn't have to be generated, it exists on its own, exists naturally, right? Then there's a transition that starts to take place and you start to wake up and be what you actually are.